Welcome to Prepared for Parenthood, the podcast for hopeful, expectant, and new parents with little ones up to age 5. I'm your host, Dr. Stephanie Duger, a psychotherapist, author, educator, parent coach, and married mother of 2. On this show, we'll discuss everything from the most up-to-date practicals of best supporting your young children, to thriving in relationship as a family, to more surprising topics around the psychology and development of babies from conception through age 5. So sit back, relax, and enjoy. I'm thrilled to have you here today. Welcome back to Prepared for Parenthood. Our guest today is Barbara Decker. She's been teaching childbirth for more than 50 years, which is about back when I was born. She's a doula, recently retired, a lactation educator, and a mentor for the Prenatal and Perinatal Educator Certificate Program through APA, which is the Association for Prenatal and Perinatal Psychology and Health. Barbara is also a hypnobirthing practitioner and trainer, which we'll be talking about today, hypnobirthing fertility consultant, and a certified prenatal bonding BA facilitator and trainer. She is a board member of APA, lives in Seattle, Washington, and is passionate about educating birthing families about the importance of bonding with babies while they're still in the womb. So I'm so thrilled you could join us today, Barbara. Thanks so much for coming. Welcome.
I'm honored to have the chance to talk about this wonderful program and pass on a lot of knowledge that most of our parents really are not aware, even though it is ancient traditions that have been lost over the years. So I'm really excited about talking about what brought me here.
Yeah, we're excited too. Can you share with us what is hypnobirthing and how did you get into becoming a hypnobirthing practitioner?
Hypnobirthing is a way of facing your birth with knowledge and learning to trust your body and your mind that we were born to have babies. Mother Nature has a beautiful plan for us. And because of media, movies, stories that we've heard, women are terrified about birth. Most childbirth classes talk about getting the baby out using certain particular breathing techniques and focusing and so forth. I started out teaching regular childbirth classes because of my own birth. The first birth was not pretty. I didn't have any childbirth classes at all. Lamaze was just starting, and it was called the Association of Psychoprophylaxis in Obstetrics, ASPO. That was the term for the class. But we were in the Navy, and we were stationed in a very small town. And I had wanted to have a natural birth, and the doctor patted me on the shoulder and said, "Oh, honey, you can't have a natural birth with the first birth. It's just too much work. Just leave it up to me." It's very interesting because I arrived at the hospital. I was about 4 centimeters dilated. Every time I had a contraction, I would sit up and groan instead of being relaxed. And so after only a few hours, I was uncomfortable enough that I wanted some pain medication. So they gave me something that actually it was a violent reaction to it, and I almost died. 11 hours later, I woke up and was holding my baby. Now, the interesting thing is, when I looked back in my chart, I didn't have a cesarean, and yet my body shut down right after they gave me the medication. They got the baby out with forceps. If they had just checked me, that was the reason I was so uncomfortable, I wouldn't have needed the medication. That's a revelation that I have learned since all these years looking up my old chart. I should have had a cesarean if the baby were still quite high, but I didn't. With my second child, the practitioner said, you can't have any medication at all, because they were saying it was the Novocaine that shut my heart down. And when you go to the dentist, you can't have Novocaine. For 3 years, I didn't go to the dentist. Anyway, I took the ASPO classes at the Naval Hospital in Virginia Beach, and I practiced diligently. I knew it would make a difference for me to be more comfortable in my birth. And 5 hours after I went into labor, I had this beautiful baby boy in my arms, and I couldn't believe how classes made the difference. So that's why I became a childbirth educator. And along the line, I ran into this wonderful woman by the name of Penny Simpkin that was giving a course in Massachusetts on supporting couples in labor. When we were transferred to Naples, Italy, I set up the childbirth program over there. And it was Lamaze at that point. When I came back from Italy, Penny Simpkin was coming to Plymouth Plantation. And I thought, wonderful, I'll learn a few more tools that I can help my couples. It was a Gilda program. I came back from that conference and I said, oh, now I have an excuse to go on the labor floor and support my parents in labor. And I fell in love with doula work. I went to a conference in Toronto with Donna, and there was a speaker there by the name of Phyllis Klaus, who gave 2 lectures on hypnosis for birth. And I could not believe the power of the mind. All she had to do was give me an example. Go to this place, the safest place you've ever been. What's the smell? What's cooking in the oven? What do the rooms look like? What's different about this place? And you feel so safe. And I just went straight to my godmother's house. I could see that house. I hadn't been in that house in 45 years. And I started crying because I felt like I was standing in that house, which was a home, and feeling loved, like I'd been loved by my godmother. So tremendous. She was my idol. She was wonderful. And I could smell the Scottish brambles that were cooking in the oven. I was just amazed how just a suggestion of a thought brought me to a place and I could use all of my senses. And I thought, wow, this is something. And she was suggesting it for support for labor. So I immediately went and trained as a hypnobirthing practitioner. And that was in 2000. And I have never regretted the change because it makes such a difference in how you reach the parents with hypnobirthing. We teach them basic tools of hypnosis, relaxation, understanding why in hypnosis people have the watch in front of your eyes, which everybody thinks is out there. But really what we're doing is we're preparing the mother to be so relaxed, like she's going to sleep. So the object of working with the eyes is to tire your eyes so you want to close them. And when you close them, the rest of the body starts to relax. So simple. But what do we do when we go to sleep at night? We close our eyes and we're ready to go to sleep. And our brain waves go into an alpha theta state. So it's just amazing how you can relax a person very quickly and just help them sense the relaxation in their body. As a matter of fact, I fell asleep in one of the lectures and the drool was coming out of the side of my mouth. And the instructor said, oh, Barb, don't worry about that. The information was going into your brain, but that's how quickly you can get someone into a relaxed state. That's slowing down your brain waves from delta, where you're really alert, you're watching everything, and the brain waves are going like mad. When you close your eyes and you go inside your body and just imagine what's happening, the baby is making the movements, the whole body starts to relax. We prepare you so that you're looking inside and imagining the movements that the baby needs to make to come out. And we also stress the fact that the mother and the baby are a team. They're working together. The body knows what to do, but we and our fears interfere with how the labor progresses. When an animal goes to have young ones, they usually find a dark, quiet place. If there's a predator that is sneaking around where that mother is having her pups, then the mother goes into fight or flight. She grabs her pups and runs to safety. Now, where does your blood flow go in those circumstances? It goes to your brain, it goes to your heart, and it goes to your extremities. But the uterus is not part of the emergency system. So the labor shuts down until that mother can find another safe place and continue her labor. And we actually do that to ourselves when we become afraid in labor. So it's important for the students to understand the physiology. And on top of that, you get the psychology of birthing when we're doing hypnobirthing. You learn to trust your body and why you want to trust your body.
I love what you're sharing, Barb. There's so many places that I want to jump in and just add little pieces. The first piece I want to come back to is what you just said about the animals having their babies. And I would say probably this is mostly mammals or perhaps birds too. I don't know. But I remember in my second birth, we live right close to the mountains in Colorado, and my water had broken, but a wildfire had just started behind our home and we were doing home birth. Clearly, I was worried about this, and we packed up and we went to a friend's house about a mile away. And our midwife, her husband was a firefighter. And so he was checking in with her. He was working on the fire and saying, it's X amount contained. This is what's happening, because we were trying to decide whether we needed to go to a different place to have the second baby. But everything stopped, right? No labor happening at all when the fire started. And then it started raining a couple of hours later, and it rained enough to fully contain the fire. And we were
Oh,
able to go home, and it was amazing. My body just was like, okay, I'm ready. Let's do this. But it was fascinating how quickly everything shut down under that kind of stress. And so that was the first piece that I wanted to share. The second piece that I wanted to share was just how fascinating it is that the pieces that are taught in hypnobirthing are similar to the ones that I teach as a therapist using EMDR, which is eye movement desensitization reprocessing. For people who don't know what that is, it's a trauma integration tool to help people move through trauma. But one of the first things we do is we help people come up with what's called a safe place. I use a calm place because some people don't relate to the word safe. And it's the same kind of thing of visualizing and smelling and feeling like you're really there. And how many of my clients have said, even if they're not doing trauma work, can we just go to the calm place just so I can land in my body and really be here and feel like I'm relaxed and my nervous system just settles down. And so I was really appreciating that part of what you shared about hypnobirthing and how that must be so helpful for birthing parents.
oh, it's so important for them to, even if they're having a baby in a hospital with people running in and out all the time, you're not paying attention to them. You're breathing through each of the surges and you're focusing on what's happening with the baby. Where do I need to move? How do I need to move? How can I ease discomfort in my back? You're focusing on what's happening in your body rather than outside watching everything. So you're almost putting yourself in a subconscious state of relaxation. When your alpha theta waves are nice and slow, you can receive suggestions, relief, send love to the baby. And we encourage affirmations for the baby. On the second class in hypnobirthing, they talked about bonding with the baby in the womb. And I'm going, what's that? Penny used to teach us to read to the baby and to sing to the baby, but to have a real bond with the baby in the womb, I'd never heard of that. With hypnobirthing, we have to recertify every year, and we have to read 2 updated books on birthing. And the one that I picked up was The Secret Life of the Unborn Child by Thomas Verney. And he's telling us how much the baby remembers. They don't remember with words in the womb, but what they remember is feelings that they had in the womb. I'd never been exposed to that before. And in a way, I was a little frustrated because I'd been teaching all those years. And with the other classes, what we were doing is just helping the family get the baby out of the body. But with hypnobirthing, we were building a family. Their families realize there's 3 already in there, and they're building this beautiful bond with the baby in the womb. Some of the affirmations that we have are specifically for the baby. I'm learning to relax and stay calm so that you can have a birth that is in calm and safety. And we're supporting you. We love you. We're looking forward to your coming to us. Positive affirmations, which are changing the physiology of the body from stress, where I'm afraid, to love, oxytocin. The more the parents become aware of that feeling of, I really love this baby and I look forward to having this birth. I look forward to holding the baby in my arms. And we actually visualize those things during class through some of the scripts. The partners practice with the birthing mother and they get used to the words. They absorb the words into their subconscious. The more they practice, the more relaxed they're able to do. And what a difference it makes when you pay attention to the baby. And it's actually ancient traditions in China, Japan, India. They used to welcome babies to the womb. The parents would say, we want you to come to us. We want you to come to be our baby. Please enter the womb. That's welcoming a child. Never heard of that either. The reason that they did it was they used to say, the mother has to be taken care of. She needs to be fed well and she needs to be kept away from stress, because they didn't have the research, but they knew it would affect the babies thousands of years ago. So we're going back to the beauty of that ancient work. And in hypnobirthing, we use a lot of yoga breathing, which is, again, ancient meditation breathing, putting the brain waves into an alpha theta state. So it makes sense that the mothers are able to stay more relaxed because their eyes are closed. They're focused on a very slow breathing technique, and they're imagining what their baby is doing. With each surge that they have, is the baby coming closer? It just shifts the whole attitude when we start working on these scripts. And then an important part of hypnobirthing is doing a fear release. We know that parents are fearful and they've got a lot of media. It's plugged into us, and everybody comes in and tells you their worst birth story when you're pregnant. So you're getting this input of negativity coming in all the time. And we encourage them to say, wait a minute, is it a good story? Oh, no, this happened today. I'll talk to you after I have my birth. Because we don't want more of those negative stories impacting the mother when she's working on a new journey to learn to trust her body, stay relaxed, and to slow down.
How do you think hypnobirthing is different from other childbirth education courses that someone might take?
There's a lot of them that don't even teach relaxation.
Mm.
If you go to some hospital classes, they just tell you what they're going to do when you get in there and about various drugs. There are more that teach relaxation, but not many that really teach you how to get rid of your fears. And when you're thinking about these fears, put them down on paper. And then we talk about all the interventions that they might have so that they're familiar with the terminology and they can write what we call preferences. We don't believe in a birth plan because plans are always broken. If you write a birth preference that is, this is my dream birth, will you help me get here to this place? It's not adversarial. If you do a plan that says, I don't want this, I don't want that, I don't want the next thing, and you do it, I'd like to be able to move around. I'd like to be able to eat in labor. And I'd love to have a natural birth as close as possible to it. If anything needs to change, please tell me and explain why we have to make the changes. In one of the first affirmations, it says, I stay calm no matter what way my labor turns. In hypnobirthing, we have about a 17% cesarean rate as opposed to in most places, 30% cesarean rate. So that's been a great benefit using hypnobirthing. Then we do this beautiful fear release where you're taking all of your thoughts and you burn them up. And when you go to your practitioner, you talk about what you'd like to be able to accomplish and how your practitioner accepts those things and respects your wishes. We encourage them to be empowered to ask questions. I think all childbirth classes now are teaching the acronym BRAINS, where you always ask the benefits, the risks, the alternatives. What is your own feeling about it? Which is your intuition? Can we do nothing? And is it safe? And can we have some space to think about the decisions that we have to make to change things? The more the parents are respected in the decision making, the less they're apt to be traumatized by their labors. We prepare them for being aware to what may happen so that you understand why.
So it seems like hypnobirthing is a self hypnosis experience. Is that
Actually,
accurate?
all hypnosis is self-hypnosis.
Okay.
All right. Because if somebody says, I couldn't be hypnotized, it's because you're saying you wouldn't allow yourself to get in the relaxed state. Then we guide them to get into that wonderful, relaxed state.
And so is there a place if the birthing parent has a partner or a doula or someone like that with them, and I know you've also been a doula, is there a place for that person in that hypnotic state? The birthing parent is in their deeply relaxed place. What is the role of the birthing partner or doula or whomever is supporting that birthing parent?
Actually, we teach the partners to be empowered too. They're protecting the woman's desire, the way she wants to birth.
Yeah.
They help her stay in that wonderfully relaxed state, telling them positive things, what a great job they're doing, having great respect for them. Do you want to go in the pool? Do you want to sit in the tub? Do you want to take a shower? They've got their own little checklist, 3 pages of cheat sheet if they forget anything. But usually they understand their role because they're working. We ask our parents to practice at least a half an hour a night so that the partners know the scripts and they can use prompts from the scripts to help relax the woman. And so really the hypnobirthing partners have a big role to play during the practice sessions. So when it comes to the birthing phase, they know exactly what they need to do. Now, you would think that a doula would be a duplicate, but it's hard for the partners to remember everything that they learned in class. So having the doula there is an excellent support because the woman may need some odd positions to help the baby come down easier. If the baby is in OP position, meaning his back is against the spine, the woman usually gets a lot of discomfort in her back and it slows the labor down. So there are positions that you can use to help that baby make turns. And for a partner to have to remember all that information, it's a bit hard. So that's where the doula really comes in and supports the group. But being a doula with a hypnobirthing couple is very different from being an active doula. Because an active doula, that you're taught to keep the labor going. With hypnobirthing, we don't do that because the more relaxed the mother is, the better she's going to open that cervix.
I imagine too that a doula or a birthing partner also plays an important role in navigating that interface between the birthing parent and the medical staff, whether it's midwives or OBs or whomever, that they protect that space
Mhm.
of the birthing parent so that the parent can try to stay in that zone of being
Exactly.
relaxed.
Exactly. Just being asked a lot of questions when you enter the hospital. When you've come to the hospital in this wonderfully relaxed state with your eyes closed and so forth, then to be asked a million questions. The partners have to be married to answer the questions, but they can answer most of those questions and not pull that mother out of that deep relaxation that she's in. And so they know what they need to do as a partner with hypnobirthing. I find the partners actually enjoy the classes just as much as the women do. They often fall asleep when we're practicing the scripts because it may be the only time anybody's ever said, you have permission to close your eyes and relax. My goal is when they finish their classes, they're looking forward to their birth. They're not dreading it or scared about what's going to happen. They know that if they stay calm, no matter what happens, the labor is going to be better for the baby. It's the bonding part that was the wake up call. What do you mean babies are listening in there? You mean they're listening to us have that argument? We're able to teach them. If you have an argument, you just sit down, put your hands on your belly, and say to the baby, oh, you must have heard that. That must not have felt good. But we want to reassure you that you're loved and we're ready to have you. Yeah.
And you took that a step further, multiple steps further in becoming certified as a facilitator and trainer in prenatal bonding BA. And in a previous episode, we had interviewed Rebecca Molitor, who I know is also trained in that. And she talked about what prenatal bonding BA is. Can you share how your own training in prenatal bonding BA interfaces with the hypnobirthing piece for you?
Well, that's the beautiful part. With prenatal bonding BA, we really delve into the person's history so that we can understand what makes them tick. They recognize what makes them tick. They understand their vulnerabilities and their strengths. I have ended up having couples come to me for prenatal bonding because they were going to start classes and they made the statement, I cannot connect to this baby. I cannot connect to this baby at all. And I said, you're doing hypnobirthing with me. And if there's a lot for you to change or overcome, then we can do more with the prenatal bonding. That history is so critically important so that they can really open their hearts to these babies in the womb. What we do in hypnobirthing is it's a layer of acknowledgement. With the prenatal bonding, the acknowledgement is weekly the whole time. that they are pregnant up to 38 weeks. They're much more conscious of the baby. And with the prenatal bonding, the bond is so strong that in meeting every week, the baby expects that appointment. That's why we try to do it the same day of the week at the same time, because they know that's their time. And the minute we start the session, the babies start going, "Mommy, it's my time." And the parents notice it right away that the baby is aware that it's our appointment time and I'm going to get lovin's. I'm going to get all this wonderful oxytocin and feeling of love and connection with mom. And it gives them the ability to feel safe, calm. We touch on it in hypnobirthing so that they know enough to relax with the baby, talk to the baby, touch the belly, rub the belly. We teach them to do that in hypnobirthing, but not to the depth that we do in prenatal bonding. Because prenatal bonding can handle a lot of previous trauma and help that resolve so that the mother can move on and be the mother that she wants to be. So there's a tremendous amount of psychology in what we do with the prenatal bonding.
That's a beautiful segue. I want to touch on the research article that I found from 2015 in the Journal of Perinatal Education that compared hypnobirthing to another childbirth education class called the Bradley Method, which, if people don't know, is focused more on general education around pregnancy and childbirth, and where the birthing parent has a specific coach. And so the coach is much more active in that process, in this method. And I don't know the method very well, but in this research, the author, Corey Varner, who's a registered nurse, this is a quote from the article, said women who have also experienced bonding difficulties, prior traumatic birth experiences, or have fear in general related to birth may benefit from the bonding and parenting and releasing fear content in hypnobirthing that's discussed in about 40% of the classes. And being a psychotherapist, of course, this stood out to me because it speaks about trauma, anxiety, bonding. In your experience, what percentage of the birthing parents who come in that you've worked with who are using hypnobirthing specifically report having lower anxiety, lower rates of birth trauma, and or better bonding experiences as parents overall?
Oh, I think all of them. Because we also have affirmations for what kind of a parent we want to be as compared to what you may or may not have had in your own childhood. We actually touch on addressing how important it is to answer their call when they reach out and they cry. Your job is to come and pick them up and love them. When you're feeling stressed out, when you come home from work, you sit down, you put your feet up, and you have baby time, where you just start sending love after that hard day at work. So it brings in the concept that no matter what you're going through, you can take some time to sit back and relax and love this baby in the womb. And that gives you that bonding before the baby is ever born. With prenatal bonding, we're relaxing our parents into a state of just letting go. So they're prepared for that sort of a feeling. If you go to a regular class and you're on a more conscious mind and they tell you everything that could go wrong, it can pull you away from that beautiful sense of relaxation that we learn doing prenatal bonding. So the hypnobirthing is a perfect adjunct for a childbirth class to teach you how to birth your baby and stay in that wonderful alpha theta state.
What I also hear in this, Barbara, is something really beautiful and something that we can hold on to as parents for our entire parenting journey, which is that sense of putting yourself into a relaxed place prior to interacting with your child. Right. And so if we are stressed out, a lot of parents are very stressed. There's a lot on their plate. They might be sleep deprived. There's a lot going on. If we can stop just for a moment and take a breath and center, and maybe for 15 seconds, imagine that calm place that we go to, that place that feels relaxing before we interact with our child. It can set up really positive parenting experiences along the way where we are actually doing what they always describe on a plane of putting the oxygen mask on ourselves first before we assist someone else. So take a deep breath, settle into yourself, because if you're not doing well, you're not going to have a good interaction with your child, probably, right? You're going to maybe snap at them or not be as present as you want to be. So if we can remember to do that, I feel like that's really helpful.
Joseph Chilton Pierce gave lots of lectures on how bonding takes place right in the center out to 3 feet. And then your heart energy goes out to 3 feet, and then it goes out 6 feet, and then it goes out 12 feet. We are all interacting with one another. And that 3 foot bonding area, the parent needs to calm down first to get their heart rate down so they can get the baby's heart rate down. And he lectured on that for years, on this energy source that we have and how important it is with bonding. Yes, when somebody is so uptight, it's better that you have somebody say, will you take the baby for just 15 minutes? And I can take a breath. There are going to be times when the child's going to run out in the road and you have to get out there and save them. And then afterwards is when you go, oh, I'm so upset with you. You almost died. But we really need to go, wow, that was a close call. And I need to calm down so that I can calm you down. Because if you're not calm, you can't calm down your child. Absolutely right. And actually, it was Fred Worth book on prenatal parenting, where he would talk about fetal love breaks, where 3 times a day you would take some time to rub your belly, to talk to your baby, just for a few minutes every single day, 3 times a day. You would start to build that bond with your baby. With prenatal bonding, we have the sessions every week. But when the women start doing that, they become much more aware of the baby's movements, much more aware. So they talk to their babies even more, but they're talking with their minds, their feelings, and using some touch.
Along those same lines, just thinking about the child running out into the road, or the times where 20% of our time we maybe don't quite hit the mark as a parent, whether baby's still in utero or baby is 15. And I think what I always love to come back to is that importance of repair, right? So
Yes.
to not put a lot of extra pressure on people, you have to do this the right way or things don't turn out well. It's yes, we all mess up as parents and we're human, and it's good modeling for our children. So long as the damage isn't extreme, it's okay. We all sometimes lose our temper. We all sometimes snap at a child or say something maybe in a way that we wish that we could take back. And the important piece is repairing after that. In all of those examples, whether you are carrying a baby in utero, after birth, a baby's 3 years old or 10 or 12, we can go and repair all of those pieces of, wow, I wish things had gone a little differently, or I wish I hadn't been so stressed out, or I wish I had said this to you a little differently. And that just goes miles as a parent, right? That's what we're teaching our children to do, that we don't have to be perfect. We don't always have to get it right. We just have to have the intention. And then when we mess up, we have to come back and take ownership for it and work on the repair. So I love that piece as well, that it's not about doing it perfectly. It's about doing it well enough.
Well, look at the couple that pee on the stick and go, we're not ready for a baby. And according to Guttmacher, I haven't seen later statistics, but his research was showing that 45% of our babies are not planned. And of those 45%, 20% aren't even wanted. Now, we know in pre and perinatal psychology, being not wanted is one of the first marks against a baby in the womb. And talk about repair. It is critical for those parents, once they've made the decision, they want to keep their baby. It's really important for them to say, I had thoughts and I wasn't sure if we were going to be able to stay together. But I want you to know now that we're on board completely. We love you. We want you to stay here, and we're looking forward to your birth. And that is really critical information, because just hearing the sound of that, they don't understand the words, but they do understand the hormones. Because if a woman is forced to have a baby and she doesn't want to have that baby, the baby has the first tough start in his life. And that's going to impact him for the rest of his life. So we need our parents to be aware how much these babies need to be wanted and loved. And you wouldn't get that in any kind of a regular childbirth class. It just gets into the importance of a child's self-regulation, their brain architecture. Everything is affected while that baby is growing in the womb. For a mother, that is the most important job she could ever have in their life, is to be able to give her baby the best start. And I call hypnobirthing and prenatal bonding the real head starts, because they're helping that child to grow emotionally healthy as well as physically healthy.
We've been speaking today with Barbara Decker about hypnobirthing and about prenatal bonding as well. Thank you so much, Barbara, for joining us today. It's such a pleasure to have this conversation with you.
Thank you for having me. And I hope that parents will read beautiful books like David Chamberlain's The Windows to the Womb, and even Thomas's book, which was done in 1980, but it's still a wake-up call for parents to realize that the baby is feeling and sensing everything that the mother feels in that womb, and how important it is for that mom to give the baby a calm place to grow.
Thank you so much, Barbara, for being here.
Okay.
Take
Thank you.
care. Thank you so much for listening to the Prepared for Parenthood podcast today. I hope you found this episode educational, informational, and conversational, and that you'll join me again for another episode soon. If you enjoyed listening to today's podcast, I'd very much appreciate if you would rate, review, and subscribe. If you're interested in more information related to today's podcast, or are looking for parent coaching or courses, you can find my information in the show notes or online at preparedforparenthood.com.